Hello, friends, and welcome into NFL Daily. Tom Downey here with the latest rumors and a couple news items as well around the NFL with a heavy, by the way, free agency focus on today's video. Could LeVeon Bell head to the Arizona Cardinals? That's our rumor on today's show here, suggested by Fansided. And on one hand, hey, I get it. This is Lev Bell. This at one point was arguably the best running back in all of the NFL. Unfortunately, the reality should be fairly clear, specifically at the running back position. Unless you're Frank Gore, Emmitt Smith, Adrian Peterson, or not of this earth, at a certain point, the production just kind of falls off a cliff at the running back position, normally right around age 30. For Lev Bell, he has not been the same guy since he left Pittsburgh. It's not all his fault, but that's also how it works as an NFL back. So I get the idea behind it. Maybe you could get a better player than what we saw in 2020 with both the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Jets. Bell chose to pass on the Dolphins, wanted to go try and chase a championship, and he was a bit player. Probably feels like a good way to describe what we saw out of him. 82 carries across 2020, 4 yards per carry. That's not good. That's really jag numbers, as in just a guy relative to the position. Now, Bell says it's not all his fault, blah, blah, blah. What I do know he offers is pass-catching value. Even with the numbers not being the best, we know Lev Bell still knows how to catch the football. He knows how to be a playmaker in that area, being able to offer 3-down versatility. And that does carry value across the NFL. The problem is, specifically to Arizona, did they even really need one of those guys? We all know James Conner, ironically, of course, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, the guy who replaced Lev Bell himself. There's also Chase Edmonds on this roster, and a bunch of other guys like Ward and DJ Foster, Tavian Feaster, Kalfani Muhammad, Eno Benjamin, who are not great. Like Lev Bell would be a top 3 back on this team. But do you want your third back to not really be a special teams guy? I'm more excited to see what Chase Edmonds has to offer for Arizona this season. He's made it clear he wants to be the number 1 back. He wants that bigger role in Arizona. And he only had 97 carries last year, admittedly, but in a small sample size, he was quite productive. And I mentioned the 3rd down value that Lev Bell offers. Edmonds already brings that. Again, Edmonds was a better football player last year than Le'Veon Bell was. Now, I'm not saying that Edmonds' peak is going to be the same as Lev Bell. I'm not a crazy person, I don't think. But I don't know if Lev Bell in the end is the most ideal fit for the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, they could use a new number 3 back. In general, though, that doesn't go to guys who are almost 30 years old. And if you're Lev Bell, don't you want to go to a destination where you're going to get the ball more, or at least think you have a chance to be the guy, which I'm not sure is the case in Arizona? I don't think so. So what do you guys think? Make your predictions for me in the comments section. What team, if any, will end up signing LeVeon Bell? Let's hit Sheldon Richardson once again with the Cleveland Browns. Now, we've mentioned this before with the context of, entering the draft. The Browns had some interest there. Well, Cleveland plain dealer, and Mary Kay Cabot, their beat writer over there, well, she said that the Browns and Richardson could still reunite after his release, which intrigues me with the timing of this whole thing. Because I was under the impression that after the Browns made their moves in free agency, the draft, etc., that maybe Richardson would search elsewhere. I think what this means, though, is if Richardson doesn't find interest elsewhere, and I will make note there's the report that he has interest from other teams. In general, folks, every single veteran player out there has interest from multiple teams, right? Because that would never, ever, his agent would never let it go that no one wants him. There's always interest there in the end. So for Richardson, I like the talent. All right, the good season in 2020, by the way. 5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. Of the veteran defensive lineman free agent out there, it's not like there's a lot of better options than Richardson. Frankly, among the top 25 or whatever free agents, he's probably top 5. But I mentioned the post-draft situation for Cleveland. It's not an elite interior defense line group, although I bet you see Clowney get some defensive tackle reps in obvious passing down situations. But Malik Jackson's already there. They drafted Jordan Elliott in round 3 this past season. Andrew Billings was an opt-out player last year. He's set to return to the team and offer some good run-stopping ability. They paid pretty big money to Marvin Wilson as an undrafted free agent out of FSU. They spent a 4th-round pick on Tommy Togiai. Sheldon Day can make it in the NFL. I have absolutely no idea what Malik McDowell is going to offer at this stage of his NFL career and, frankly, life. But they have options. And when the Browns drafted Tommy Togiai in the 4th round, that was an indication to me that, you know what, the Browns feel fine about not bringing back Sheldon Richardson. Now, if injuries happen, if Togiai needs a redshirt year, okay, maybe that changes the plan. But the Browns spent a 4th-round pick on him. They think he's going to make this roster. And with Jackson and Billings and Elliott and Togiai and others already on this team, not to mention Marvin Wilson, who I know many of you guys like out there, the numbers game starts to add up in Cleveland. So where if everyone's healthy, if they play the way the Browns think that they can, I don't really know what the role that would elicit a desire to return. Remember, he's trying to get paid again next year too. Going to be a number 3 or 4 defensive tackle at best really isn't something he's trying to do right now. So with that in mind, where do you think Sheldon Richardson is going to sign this season? Is it Cleveland? Somewhere else? Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments section. As news happens, folks, we let you guys know. So if you want all the latest NFL news and rumors and simply put, the best coverage out there of the NFL, hit that big red button and subscribe. Pretty soon, fun changing the colors there at the bottom of your screen from red to black. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv. Videos coming out multiple times a day. So if you need to kill some time at work, want to wind down in the evening, hit that big red button and subscribe. Let's talk Patriots now. Jarrett Stidham, his future. So if you are a Jarrett Stidham truther, this is your warning. It's not going to be a positive video here. Now, ESPN's Mike Reese, Patriots beat writer, has offered praise for Jarrett Stidham at OTAs. Cam Newton gets hurt. He bangs his hand. It's a little minor nick. He'll be fine. But Mac Jones didn't look great, and Jarrett Stidham impressed, and all this stuff, which is cool. I want to believe it's true. I also have my doubts. Because the one thing I know about New England and their game plan moving forward, Jarrett Stidham is not the future. He's not. That is Mac Jones. And I just wonder, if you were the Patriots and you saw the way Jarrett Stidham played last year, wouldn't you be putting it out through your buddies in the media that, oh yeah, he's good? I forget it was Tom Curran, I think, whichever Patriots beat writer was it, in discussion of the Julio Jones trade, Jarrett Stidham was a good asset. On what planet? Jarrett Stidham was bad last year. You just saw the production. Yeah, it was kind of some weird situations he was put into, but he was bad. He's been bad in his NFL career. He's not a good football player. Jarrett Stidham right now, folks, is competing just to make the team. Like, Cam Newton is probably going to start. But Mac Jones in the long run is this team's future if everything goes according to plan there. Yeah, I get it. Jarrett Stidham was a day 3 draft pick out of Auburn. There's praise, blah, blah, blah. He's fighting to beat Brian Hoyer right now as quarterback 3. The Patriots wouldn't have brought back Brian Hoyer if they felt good about Jarrett Stidham being quarterback 3 or a nice backup option if the worst ends up happening. Like, the reality is, over his NFL career, he's bad. I don't know what to tell you. Can he get better? Yes. But this idea that Stidham is a great asset or, hey, he's going to make a push to beat out Mac Jones, come on, guys. The NFL is not a meritocracy, which even in favor of Jarrett Stidham in this hindsight discussion, whatever, they spent a 1st-round pick on Mac Jones. He went in round 1. Their commitment to him is very clear. So unless Mac Jones himself ends up being really bad early on, he's going to be the future. And even if Mac Jones is bad, it's not going to be Jarrett Stidham. Frankly, I would argue it is more likely that at least for this upcoming season, Jarrett Stidham makes or gets cut or traded more so than he becomes like the future or whatever. Could he be a backup? Sure. But all the actual moves and the clear signs submitted from the Patriots with the drafting of Mac Jones, bringing back Cam Newton and Brian Hoyer is that, hey, we don't believe in Jarrett Stidham. So make your predictions for this season. Will the Patriots keep Jarrett Stidham or will they cut or trade him? Get your votes in for me. Yes, he's going to make the roster, or N for no, he's not. Here's the news on today's video. Dre Kirkpatrick and the New Orleans Saints. So Ian Rappaport says that the Saints are going to bring in the veteran free agent cornerback for a visit, saying that the Saints have been searching for a proven corner, and of the guys out there, well, Dre Kirkpatrick is certainly one of them and one of the more experienced ones. I will also make note, by the way, that Dre visited the Patriots, in case you forgot about that one. Now, over his NFL career, Kirkpatrick's been kind of up and down. High moments with the Bengals, got paid, but also inconsistent at various points. In 2020, with the Arizona Cardinals, his most recent NFL stop, the numbers are fairly indicative of what he is. And I would argue that is a boom or bust player. You know what? 3 interceptions, 7 pass breakups, that's pretty intriguing. The flip side is when you're allowing about 2/3 of your passes to be completed for 666 yards, that means that, yes, you're making plays, but you're getting targeted a pretty good amount, and you're getting beat far more often than what you would like your NFL team or your player to allow there. So I am down, if you're the Saints, to bring in Dre Kirkpatrick, see what kind of shape he's in, see how he's doing, and explore multiple veteran corners out there, because I don't think Dre Kirkpatrick would be that expensive. But we'll get to some other names here in a second. Before we do that, though, what corner do you think the Saints should go out and sign? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Now, amid some apparent legal issues for Marshawn Lattimore, the Saints overall are in I'd call it a survivable place at corner. I'm going to list Chauncey Gardner-Johnson as a nickel because he's kind of that nickel safety hybrid, but he's fun. I want to get him on the field, so I did it. You drafted Paulson Adebo in round 3. Maybe it's not this year, given he hasn't played that much football in the past 2 seasons, but maybe it's not this year for Adebo, but maybe Patrick Robinson, Ken Crawley, or P.J. Williams holds down the fort at cornerback too for the time being, and then Adebo steps up and emerges as the number 1 corner next year. Or, if they don't trust Robinson or want to keep him in the nickel, or Williamson, or don't trust Crawley or whatever, they could go get a veteran corner. And there are still some notable guys out there, even ones not named Dre Kirkpatrick. I'm intrigued by Richard Sherman, and I think he would enjoy mentoring Paulson Adebo if the Saints could guarantee him some decent money and playing time. Josh Norman has gotten along pretty well with Sean Payton, but that's kind of downside of his career. Steven Nelson interests me, veteran corner, but kind of the same type of guy as Kirkpatrick, although I'd argue Nelson is better right now. Garyon Conley, former first-round pick, has been a bust. Is he in shape, going off injury? I don't know. Brian Poole, a nickel corner option. So of that big 5, Dre Kirkpatrick, I would argue, is at least top 5, if not top 3 or top 4 of the guys out there. So if you're the Saints, I got no problem picking up the phone, calling him and going, hey, you know what? Let's see what you got, and maybe they end up signing him before the season begins.